What's going on, guys? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, and we're here for episode number 111. 111, man, of the TBL podcast. Delighted to be joined by, yes, he is my father. For those who didn't know, he is my dad, biological father. He's up here in the building, the main man, fresh off his trip to Selhurst Park yesterday, where we got the 3 points, rocking that AFC jersey, as you know. Yeah, we're here for another episode. Got a lot to talk about today. How you feeling, man? How was the game yesterday?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. The game, listen, it was great to be there. I haven't been to an away game for a while, so the atmosphere in the ground was really, really good. Let's be honest, the performance wasn't great, but it was a workmanlike performance. We got the 3 points. We deserved the win, I thought, and we keep it moving. You know what I mean? That's what you do in football. You know, you just it's not quite like boxing, is it? It's you just get the win and you move on. There's none of this. Oh yeah, but you didn't knock him out you didn't score 6 goals and stuff like that. I'm sure the fans would like to score 6 goals every match, but it's not like you're Anthony Joshua if you don't knock them out within 3 rounds and everyone criticises you. So yeah. But it's a job well done in the end, especially when you consider they had a man wrongfully sent off, I might add. But hey, we're here to talk boxing and I'm ready to go.
Ready to go, man. Shout out to everyone that will soon join the chat. Big up all of you guys. When you do join, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get cooking, man. First of all, as you know, we got to start off with our fantasy matchup of the week. I don't know if you've seen the video. Hopefully you haven't, so I can catch you off guard. But yeah, this week's fantasy matchup that I uploaded, Pacquiao and Lomachenko in their primes, 135. Who have you got in this one? If you were to make a quick prediction, how does that go, in your opinion?
I'll probably go for Pacquiao. I haven't seen it before
I
now,
haven't seen it.
so you have hit me by surprise. But yeah, listen, Pacquiao was an absolute monster, wasn't he? Some would argue that there are reasons for that, but I'm not going to go there. But yeah, based on historical context and having seen the two fighters, I think I probably lean towards Pacquiao, but I think Loma would give him a lot of problems. So I think it's a good matchup, another good matchup. Yeah, well done.
What about the quickly? What about the? I referenced in the video the fight with obviously Juan Manuel Marquez. Not that they're the same, but he's a fantastic boxer. Juan Manuel Marquez was. Would Loma have given Pacquiao trouble with the footwork, the angles, the deceptive punching power?
Speed, the angles, yeah.
Speed, the angles, the matrix, man. Would
The
he have given
Matrix, yeah.
Pacquiao a lot to think about?
Yeah, I'm sure he would have given him a lot of problems, but I fancy over a 12-round fight because I think it would have gone 12 rounds. Couldn't have seen Lomachenko getting Pacquiao out of there. So I think over 12 rounds in a hard-fought fight, I think I'll probably lean towards Pacquiao. Although
Okay.
I can understand why some people might think that Loma would be better. But I'm just looking at the two of them's careers. See, personally, even though Lomachenko will probably go down as one of the best modern fighters, I actually think he stayed amateur just that little bit too long. So by the time he turned over as pro, he wasn't as good as a pro as he might have been had he had turned over earlier, if you see what I mean. You're talking
Yeah.
about someone who had like 400 amateur fights.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And a lot of those fights would have been at the very top level. So that takes a toll, even though only 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds, and stuff like that. And even when he stopped boxing as an amateur, he went into the was it the USB? Was it US? What was it? I haven't butchered that.
World
But
Series boxing. World
what's
Series
for
boxing.
USB? I'm thinking of computers. Yeah, the WSB, World Series Boxing, which was like a pro-am type of thing. And he spent a little while in there as well. So yeah, I think if he'd have turned pro in his early 20s and that, imagine how good he would have been then.
Mm.
So yeah, I would definitely lean towards Pacquiao, but it would have been a great fight though.
Yeah. All right. Good to get your opinion on that. Let's get into the show itself, and we'll start off with Oleksandr Usyk against Daniel Dubois, set to take place this weekend in Poland. Now, this fight here will be on TNT Sports, formerly known as BT Sports, pay-per-view. So you have to pay on top of your subscription if you're in England to watch this fight, which is laughable, should I say. But anyway, Alexander
I've got a
Usyk,
real problem with that actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
laughable. That it's actually insulting
Yeah.
to charge this on pay per view, you know. But we'll get into that.
Mm.
The fight will be in Poland, so bordering Ukraine, which is where Oleksandr Usyk is from. This is really kind of like his first home fight in a long time, maybe for as long as I can remember, right? So, you know, he's got that added motivation there, Oleksandr Usyk, to go out there and put on a tremendous show in front of his hometown crowd. He's not there often enough, considering what's going on over there in Ukraine right now. He's going to be extra motivated to defend his belts and defend them well. Daniel Dubois, the mandatory challenger for the WBA belt, but you know he'll be looking to shock the world, right? Because no one believes that he's going to do this. So he's got added motivation to go out there and defeat Usyk, who is 36 years old. He has got wear and tear on the body. Can a young, hungry, big, strong heavyweight like Daniel Dubois cause Usyk the problems and, you know, maybe take him to certain areas that he might not have hoped for? Will Father Time catch up with Usyk? Laurie, give me your thoughts on this one. Now, how does this fight go for you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you said at the outset there that fight being held in Poland, it might as well be held in Ukraine because people out there will probably know that Ukraine share a border with Poland. And from what I understand, there's a lot of expats, Ukrainians living in Poland, especially because of the war. So this, make no mistake, this will be a home fight for Oleksandr Usyk, his first homecoming. And when you consider the backdrop of the war and everything else, he will be massively motivated for this fight. You know what I mean? Heavyweight champion, the world, former cruiserweight champion, undisputed. He's a massive star. My sources tell me that he's bigger in Ukraine than Lomachenko is. So that tells you, man, you know what I mean? He's a real national treasure. So he's going to be highly motivated for this fight. As is Daniel Dubois, you know what I mean? No one, as you said, no one's giving him a chance. And indeed, I remember when this fight was first announced, absolutely nobody was giving Daniel Dubois any chance at all. People were saying, oh, 3-4 rounds, he's going to get washed. There's a mismatch, blah, blah, blah. But I have noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed as well, Darryl, that over the past, I would say, couple weeks now, you're starting to see a lot. I mean, this is quite typical of boxing in a way, but I'm seeing it quite a lot where one or two people out there are suggesting that Dubois, even if he doesn't win, has got a real good chance. And they're basing that on his age. I mean, you said that Usyk is 36, and let's face it, he's been boxing a long, long time. He's another one that had an extensive amateur career, Olympic gold medalist, world champion as an amateur, been around the block. He also did the WSB, so he turned pro quite late. He's been boxing many, many, many years. He's 36 years old, been around a long time, must be wear and tear on the body. He would have had a lot of hard fights, even if he's unbeaten, which he is. There would have been nights when he's been pushed to the limit. He's come through it. But that does take a toll on people, you know what I mean? He's 36 years old, so no matter how fit he's going to be on the night, he's not going to be in his athletic prime. So when you consider that Daniel Dubois is 25 years old, which normally for heavyweights, you haven't peaked yet. Well, most heavyweights haven't peaked at that time. It's going to be bigger by a couple of inches. I think reach is about similar. I would imagine that physically, if he's not the stronger, he's going to be at least as strong as Usyk, I would have thought, although Usyk looks like he's bulked up since he's gone up to heavyweight. So there are some advantages there that Daniel Dubois will be hoping to exploit. I do also think he's a bigger one-punch hitter. In fact, I'm pretty sure he is. So he does have certain attributes that could serve him well in this fight, you know what I mean? So it is quite an intriguing fight when you think about it. I mean, boxing is littered with upsets like this, where you get the champion who's been around a long time. He's in that kind of twilight years of his career. He comes up against a young, hungry, motivated challenger who can punch, and then lo and behold, the younger guy prevails. But I don't know, man. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. But I have to say, man, that everything seems stacked in Usyk's favour, apart from the physical advantages which I've just mentioned. But whether that will be enough, because with Usyk, I mean, a lot of guys are bigger and stronger than him. You know what I mean? Over the years, and he's prevailed. And the reason why he's done that is because he's such a brilliant boxer. Brilliant footwork, speed, intelligence in the ring. He's very brave. He can take a punch. Southpaw style, which people find hard to negate. He's just a master boxer, man. And that served him well so far. And the fact that he's at home in front of his wildly cheering and enthusiastic crowd, I'm imagining, that will probably be enough to get him across the line. But I do give Dubois a chance.
Shout out to Dwayne B here. Big up Dwayne B, bro. He says that I give Dubois a puncher's chance. Would be the biggest British surprise win since Lloyd Hannigan. And you know what, Dwayne? I have to say, listen, I've made predictions, and we've all got predictions wrong in the past, right? Like the most recent one for me was Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez. I thought Josh Taylor was gonna steamroll, not steamroll him, but I thought he was gonna win pretty conclusively. And we saw what happened. I got that one very wrong. Now I'm in the majority here, I believe, like with Dwayne and you, where I just think that I Dubois can win, like Dwayne's saying here, he can win, but I find it very hard making a convincing argument for Daniel Dubois here. Number one, the fact that this will be over there on Ukrainian, well, pretty much Ukraine. It's in Polish soil, but it's right over there next to Ukraine. So it's a home fight for Usyk, number one. He's not going to get any favours, Dubois, number two. I've seen some naivety in Dubois' performances as of late, number three, and I'll elaborate on that further if you need me to. Yeah, I'm not convinced. I've seen previous performances. Number one, Usyk is not as a brilliant top 2, 3 pound for pound level type fighter. I think that's established, right? He's undefeated. He's gone up against big men before. So this whole argument about bigger, stronger, he's already had that. And we've seen how he deals with it. So there's that. The only thing that really makes Usyk, could make him lose this is if Father Time catches up with him, because I don't see what Dubois can do. I don't think he can sustain an attack long enough to keep Usyk at bay. It's really going to have to be a one-punch knockout for me. And Usyk has shown that he's got a very good chin, number one. And he don't get caught with too many, number two. He might get caught with one. But the follow-up, how many follow-up punches do you get on Usyk without him landing on you? So Dubois has shown a bit of naivety for me. I saw him got knocked down a couple of times. I can't remember who it was against. But he got knocked down a couple of times in that fight. Obviously, he quit against Joe Joyce. Will he quit against Usyk when he's, on the back foot? Maybe not on the back foot, but where your back's against the wall. Usyk landing punches at will, throwing different angles, putting mental pressure on you, showing you something that you haven't seen before, being in another country, far away from home, no fanfare. You're not going to bring no fans over there. So with all that in mind, I find it very hard to pick it. I would have found it hard to pick against Usyk if this fight was in London, right? This is taking place in Poland, and I find it very hard to pick Dubois here. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just think that Usyk could beat him, and he could make him quit. He could do. He made that Dubois quit before. He could make him quit.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, the fighter you're talking about, where he got knocked down a couple of times and looked on the verge of being stopped, and then he turned it around, was when he fought Kevin Lorena, who was basically a pumped-up cruiserweight from South Africa, fairly low level, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you examine the records between the two fighters, Usyk and Dubois, it's night and day, even though I think they've had the same amount of fights, 20. I mean, again, as I said, Usyk turned pro quite late. That would explain that, because he had an extensive amateur career in which he won an Olympic gold medal. But yeah, if you compare the two careers and the opponents, it's night and day. It really is. But, the one thing you can say about Dubois is that he can punch. You know what I mean? A lot of people say that he punches harder than Joshua, for example, in terms of one punch KO power. I think he's done something like 20 fights and 18 KOs. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. I mean, if he can land, and when I say land, I don't just mean a one-off shot. If he can hurt Usyk early, he could overpower him. It's not impossible, especially heavyweights, And I would imagine that his coach, Don Charles, the game plan that they're going to attempt to deploy will be not to try and outbox Usyk as what Anthony Joshua rather foolishly tried to do. I think their approach will be, we're going to try and put it on him. So they probably won't mind if they're losing rounds as long as they're in the fight. You know what I mean? I would imagine Don Charles will say, listen, man, this guy's a very good boxer, very nifty footwork. He's a southpaw. You will lose rounds to him, but keep the faith, keep believing in yourself. Every time you get an opportunity, man, try and touch him, even if it's to the body, to the arms. You've seen what Canelo does when he's finding it hard to track fighters down. He will start hitting them to the shoulder. And, you know what I mean? Just basically trying to wear him down. As I said, Daniel Dubois is naturally the bigger man. He's 6'5". He's 25 years old. He's built like an outhouse. Very physically strong. He's got to try and impose himself on Usyk, even if he's losing on points. Stay in there, you know what I mean? Weather the storm, but always believe that you've got the power to cause major damage to Usyk. The problem with that, though, is that Usyk has a very good chin. You know what I mean? I can't really ever remember him being dropped. Not with a headshot, anyway. I think a couple of times to the body earlier in his career he's been hurt. But I don't remember seeing him in too much trouble, man. And he's been in with some big guys. I mean, funny enough, and some people may, sound surprised when I say this, but Derek Chisora had a lot of success against Usyk early. He was able to tag Usyk on a number of occasions, and obviously Daniel Dubois hits a lot harder than Derek Chisora does, even though they have different fighting styles. So, yeah, I mean, Daniel Dubois is mainly what I call a stand-up type of boxer who tries to hunt you down, doesn't he? He uses the jab to set up the big right hand, and that's what he's going to try
That
and
was
use.
going to be that was going to be my point. But carry on, carry on. That was going to be
Yeah,
my
so
point.
what I will imagine he'll do, he will be advancing behind the jab. The jab will be the setup shot for the right hand, although he does have a good left hook as well, Daniel Dubois. He can punch with either hand. He's a seriously heavy-handed guy. I mean, even Joe Joyce, when he beat Daniel Dubois quite comprehensively in the end, a lot of people said he made him quit, which I guess he did. But I think Joe Joyce, in the immediate aftermath of that fight, said that Daniel Dubois had hit him the hardest he'd ever been hit. So there's no doubt that the man has power. It's just whether he can land and land often enough to make a difference on Usyk.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah. You said about Dubois. Your point about Dubois putting it on Usyk. I'm curious to see how he's going to do that because, like you said, he's got a very upright stand-up style. Operates behind the jab. A bit of a plodder. I wouldn't say he's too much. He's a bit of a plodder in that sense. He's not one known for his footwork in that sense. I mean, he does the fundamentals well, Daniel Dubois, but everything operates behind the jab. So when you've got someone like Usyk, who'll be able to see that coming, will be able to evade it, give angles. How Dubois first of all has to corner him and tie him down and land his shots. He's going to have to be willing to take shots on the way in and just continue to march forward. Like you said, don't be too discouraged from it. But what I'll say to you is this. When I've seen Dubois in adversity, he hasn't really handled it that well. Okay, with Lorena, he ended up winning. But, it was a bit concerning watching him get knocked down those times. Like, it looked like that I thought that fight was going to get stopped. Obviously, we saw what happened with Joe Joyce. When else has he been under adversity in his career? Nothing springs to mind as of now, but those were the two occasions that I can remember. And I just think Saturday, he's definitely going to come under adversity. So how is he going to deal with it? Because so far I haven't been convinced by it. And this ain't a knock on Dubois. I think he's a very good fighter. And he's got a lot of, even if he loses on Saturday night, it doesn't mean that he can't go on and win a real version of a world title. But yeah, I just think that Usyk is too experienced. Has been around the block. He's seen it all. We're talking about bigger and stronger guys. He's faced bigger and stronger guys for a long time now throughout his career. He's used to every style. He's at home. This is a tall order for Dubois. And Frank Warren just trying to sell this as just Frank Warren he's just ridiculous, right? I mean, you got to sell your fighter. I get that, but just knowing what they're probably thinking, the fact that they've thrown Dubois in there because they don't want their golden boy Tyson Fury to fight him. So they're like, yeah, Dubois is gonna do it. Dubois is gonna, you know what I mean? They're all a bunch of jokers over there, man. I have to throw that in.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned your skepticism and your concern about Dubois. Well, you didn't say heart, but you referenced that he may have quit in a couple of fights. Well, he didn't quit in the Lorena fight, but one or two people out there suggesting that he didn't handle it the best. What I would say to give Daniel Dubois some credit is that when he suffered that first knockdown, I think he got hit on the top of the head. So his equilibrium went and his legs went from underneath him and he got dropped. Now, it's my understanding that he suffered an injury in that fight, and so he didn't have his legs completely under him. So we got to give him some credit. If you're in a fight and you get dropped and then you injure your leg, I mean, you saw it happen to David Hay when he fought Tony Bellew, and he got his leg injured. That rendered him almost incapacitated after that. So in Dubois' case, although the leg injury wasn't as serious as the one that David Hay suffered when he fought Tony Bellew, but when Dubois suffered the injury against Kevin Lerena, it did take him around to get himself back together. But I think it was in the third round, was it?
Yeah,
When he started to throw punches, all of a sudden Lorena stopped throwing punches and he got the win. So he will say to those doubters, listen, man, I came through adversity. I showed you that I'm not a quitter. And I'm here fighting for the heavyweight title as a result. And I just would say as well, with the Joe Joyce loss, when he quit on his knee, remember? He took the knee. I didn't really hold that too much against him. He had a really bad eye injury. I think he fractured his eye socket. He couldn't see out of the eye. He was getting beaten up. He's a young man. I think he would have been about, 23 at that time, 22. Listen, man, your eye, you only get one pair of eyes. Come on now. You know what I mean? It's all well for us to say, yeah, you should have fought on to the very end. But, you know what I mean? Had he have fought on, who knows whether he would have been here today being able to see out of his eyes. So listen, I don't give him too much stick for that, although people will reference that and say when the going gets tough, he's bailed out before, he's capable of doing it again. I guess they would be right, but I don't hold that the Joe Joyce lost too much against him. I think he could have ended up saving his boxing career, if not his eyesight. So, but as I said before, I'm really interested in watching this fight because I want to see what happens the first time Dubois is able to land a clean shot on Usyk's chin. And that might tell us a whole lot about this fight. Because if Usyk takes it and shakes it off and says, is that it? Then I think it's going to be an extremely long night for Dubois. On the other hand, if he lands and is able to hurt Usyk, wobble him, drop him, or whatever, it could get very interesting, even in Poland.
so you said you're curious, you're looking forward to seeing it. Does that mean you're going to be paying for it on pay-per-view then?
Well, we might be covering it on DR Sports, but one way or another, I'll watch it. I'll leave it like that. You know what I mean? But will I be buying it? Probably not. So I'll
Yeah.
leave it there, and I'll leave it up to your viewers' imagination. But I will be watching it for sure.
Yeah, listen,
It's
I'm
quite
not,
an
I'm not mad,
intriguing
I'm not
fight.
mad at the
It's
fight.
quite an intriguing fight.
I'm not mad at the fight at all. I'm not, even though I'm pretty strong in my prediction in that Usyk will win. And just for the record, I've got Usyk by late stoppage. I've got him rounds 9 or 10, stopping Daniel Dubois. But I'm not mad at the fight. I
No,
think
I think
it's a
Dubois is there
dramatic
on
fight.
merit.
Well,
Dubois
it's
is there on
mandatory.
merit. He won a
Yeah.
version, even though it's lightly regarded. He won a version of the title over in America. Went over to America, easily dispatched of Trevor Bryan, who, let's face it, wasn't very good at all, on a Don King show over in America. Didn't get paid for a number of months, apparently. But he went over there, got the job done. And let's be honest, with so many versions of the title, Usyk could have had a worse opponent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's far
Yeah.
worse out there than Daniel Dubois. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering though whether this has come a little bit early for him. He's only 25. I know he's had 20 fights, but he's not been in with anyone apart from Joe Joyce remotely in the same class as Oleksandr Usyk. And of course, when he went in with Joe Joyce, he got stopped. So,
What's your
it's a
official
tall
prediction?
order, as you said.
What's your official prediction then? What's your
Right, moving on to predictions. Listen, I'd love to see Daniel Dubois win. Yeah, he's a British guy. I'd love to see him go over there and do the upset. And as one of your contributors just said, if he was able to pull it off, it would be the biggest win abroad, in my opinion, since Lloyd Hannigan. And I'm old enough to remember that win when he beat Don Curry. And like Usyk, Donald Curry at that time was regarded as pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world. People weren't giving Hannigan any chance. And the other thing as well about that win of Lloyd Hannigan's is that Don Curry, a lot of people considered in their prime, whereas Usyk, I think even the biggest fans of Usyk would have to admit that he's not really in his prime. He can't be at 36 years old. So listen, there are windows of opportunity there for Daniel Dubois. Like I said, bigger, stronger, harder puncher, younger man, one-off opportunity. Can he seize it? I genuinely love him to do it. However, I've got to vote with my head, not my heart. Usyk is an outstanding fighter. It's a homecoming fight. I think Daniel Dubois will give of his best, and I think he will have success in the fight. He will have his moments. But Usyk, man, he's up there, isn't he, in the pound for pound rankings, and you don't get put up there for nothing. I expect Usyk to weather the storm, come through, and I think it could be a late stoppage in his favour.
So you're saying late stoppage as well? Yeah,
I'm saying late stoppage for Usyk, but I'd love to be proven wrong. Not so much for Frank Warren, though, because I do agree with you that the
yeah.
way they've kind of done this is almost as if they're hoping that Dubois can get the win so that then Tyson Fury will take the title of Dubois and then call himself the undisputed champion. Because you watch how quick Tyson Fury will want to make that fight with Dubois
That's
if
the
he
issue
was
I
to
have.
win this fight.
It's the issue I have with it, man.
Yeah,
Shameless,
it is shameless.
shameless fucking shameless. You know what I mean? And you know they're going to be watching. Fury and that will be watching closely. But yeah, it's almost just feels like that. This is one of those fights where they've just pushed the bar in the front. Yeah, go on, Daniel. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah, go on. Yeah, Daniel. This you can do it, mate. Yeah, yeah, you'll go. And then Fury probably hyping him up. Yeah, go on, Daniel. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you go and do what I didn't want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when you're in sometimes you're in the heat of the moment, and you know what I mean, and your friends push you up front because they don't want to take on the bully, so they let you do it. That's kind of what Fury's doing. Talking of Fury, I've got to say this very quickly. I know I'm digressing. I saw on YouTube today the that press conference for the KSI Tommy Fury fight, and of course the dad was in there making an absolute arsehole of himself once again. It just doesn't stop with these people. But anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, just clown
we
behavior.
won't dwell on it. But yeah, once again, man, that guy, absolute clown behaviour for a big man, nearly 60 years old, to be carrying on like that. It's just incredible. But yeah, back to the fight. I'd love to be able to sit here and predict that Daniel Dubois is going to win. I genuinely want him to win. However, Usyk, I just think is a class above, and I think it will tell on the night. And I expect Usyk, as I said, to weather the storm, come through, and I think either he'll stop Daniel Dubois with a couple of knockdowns, or maybe Don Charles will show mercy and pull his man out of there by about the 9th, 10th round.
Big up everyone in the chat, man. I'm only just seeing some of these comments now. Shout out to iBoxing Hub, BFV. Big up yourself, bro. Sorry, I didn't even see these comments come in, man. Thank you very much. Rosie Mason, big up all you people, man. Sorry I can't read them all, but I see all your comments here, man. Himanshu, all you guys. Really sorry. I've only just seen these come through now. I don't know if it's my iPad or what, but yeah, apologies. But big up everybody in the chat. This one here, quickly, I want to touch on this because I did a video on it and I've uploaded it to my channel. I think it was yesterday, I think I uploaded it. Now, we spoke about this fight in depth on the last show, so we don't have to do that again. But I want to get your opinion on this because there's been some doubts there. There's been some videos floating around from other boxing channels as well on this. And just some doubts floating around as to whether this fight will happen next or not. Some people are suggesting that Team Hearn, that is AJ and Eddie Hearn, 258, you know, maybe looking at a different route. Maybe looking at fighting somebody else first before the Wilder fight. Now, none of them have confirmed this. Like, we haven't seen any of them come out and say that that is the case. But the body language, some people have noted, of particularly Eddie Hearn since this fight, has been one of, you know, it went from, oh yeah, this is definitely done, this is definitely happening, to now, yeah, we still got stuff to figure out, we need to finalize it, you know, we're not sure, it depends on if the Saudis can offer us the right money and everything. So people are saying like, yo, what's going on, man? I thought this was done. Like, why now is it now down to the Saudis? The Saudis want it. Wilder definitely seems to want it. Are they getting cold feet? Do you think that this is a non-story? or do you think that there might be some legs to it? Do you think that following that performance against Hellenius, and listen, he got the knockout win, right? But following that performance, which some people believe was pretty shaky, does AJ need another fight before Wilder? Will he fight Wilder next? How comes it's not been finalized now? But to counteract that quickly, I did see a story today on Boxing Scene, and I think it came out yesterday, where Eddie Hearn said that he believes that this will be finalized within the next couple of weeks. So let's see. We've heard that before, but your opinion on this, like, have you seen some of these reports floating around about AJ possibly taking another fight before Wilder?
Yes, I've seen it, and I sincerely hope that is not the case. Because listen, man, this fight just needs to happen. I don't think AJ needs to be any more ready than he is now. I did a show with you last week, and on that show, I said to you that I'm convinced that if they fight, AJ can beat Wilder, and I'm sticking with that. And I'm not just saying that to be different to everybody else. I'm saying it because I genuinely believe it. And for those of you watching today, if you haven't seen that show I did with Daryl last week, go back and watch that. I outline my reasons. I'm not going to go over all of them again, but I do think that AJ has what it takes to beat Wilder. Whether he'll beat him or not, obviously, is another reason, which is why we need to see the fight. But listen, I would be grossly disappointed if that fight doesn't happen next, man.
Me
You know what I
too.
mean? Because I don't think that Wilder's this boogeyman that a lot of people are making him out to be. The guy's not fought for getting on for 2 years, and when he did, he had one round of action against a guy that, let's be honest, man, Wilder put him out with the first shot that he landed. So we still don't really know what Wilder's got left in the tank. What we do know is that Wilder is a big puncher. He's always going to be that. When Wilder's 60, he'll still have that big right hand. You know what I'm saying? So listen, that fight needs to happen, man. AJ, he's got time to prepare for that fight. If a fight's in January, what we in now? August. He's got months to work on a game plan, get himself into the best possible condition. Likewise, Wilder has, you know what I mean, enough time to prepare for the fight. I don't see what's holding it up. Who are they going to bring in, you know what I mean, style-wise that's any more different or any more similar? I mean, Hellenius ticked a few of those boxes, didn't he? Big, tall guy, big puncher, rangy. He went in there, did the business. Okay, some people said it wasn't impressive enough for them, but listen, it is what it is. He got the win. It was a highlight reel knockout. Just get AJ in there with Wilder, man. And we've been waiting to see this fight now. How long is it since we've been talking about those two being in the ring? Must be
Since
getting on for,
2027, since 2017.
yeah, you know what I mean? So what's
Since when
that,
he,
8 years ago?
since when he beat
Oh,
Klitschko, that
6 years ago. 6 years ago.
mm.
So come on now, man. You know what I mean? We need to see that fight. And it would appear that both of them are running out of opponents because it doesn't look like Fury's going to fight AJ anytime soon. That's for sure. So listen, man, that fight needs to happen.
Yeah.
Not just for them two, but for boxing, for heavyweight boxing. That fight needs to happen. The division is in a real, you know what I mean, state of unrest, for want of a better word, at the moment. The fights are not being made. No one seems to know what's going on. We don't need to add another layer of confusion to the whole heavyweight drama. You know what I mean? Just get the fight made. If AJ's going to win, he's going to win. All this, he needs another fight. No, in my view, he doesn't. Because he's not
Well,
going to dramatically change, is he? Yes, another fight with Derek James, you could argue and say, yeah, it will help him, you know what I mean, to get more time with his new trainer and, you know what I mean, develop the professional relationship. But I really don't think in terms of taking on Wilder, it's going to make that much difference.
iBoxing Hub here says if he doesn't, then AJ has made the right decision. AJ is in a rebuilding phase. He has to rebuild his career before stepping in with Wilder.
I respectfully disagree
Mm.
because I think he can beat Wilder. I think he's got above 50% chance of beating Wilder. I know I may be in a minority when I say that, but I don't. I said it. I explained it very clearly on your show last week. I don't see Wilder as a very good boxer. I think he's got a leak of defense. I also think he's had a long, hard career, especially with the Fury fights, the two Ortiz fights. I think he's damaged goods, and I say that respectfully. Yes, you could argue the same about AJ. So then they're both damaged. Get them in there. It's probably going to be who lands first, cleanly. And
Mm.
I could make a case for that being AJ because Wilder, I seriously doubt his boxing skills. And I said, I don't think he has the legs anymore. Um, and I think that's a very winnable fight for AJ. He's got the better coach. I think he'll be better prepared. I think that Wilder has shown a certain level of arrogance by not wanting to take a warm-up fight. And I just think that there's many reasons why AJ can win this fight.
Okay, well, like we said, we did do a whole show on it last week, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. I respectfully disagree, but check that show out and you'll see our back and forth on that. It was a great show last week, so check it out, man. Episode 110, that was. Hit the like button, everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody here. Keep dropping the comments. If I can't read them, I'll put them up on the screen. So big up to all you guys, but we got to keep it moving, and we really want to see the AJ and Wilder fight. That fight is something we want to see next. But here is a fight that I don't want to see, and I saw it this week, and I just had to shake my head when I saw this, man. Terence Crawford coming out and saying on the Joe Rogan show that he is now open to fighting Canelo at 168 after previously saying that he would not be interested in jumping up all those weights. Now, for those that don't know, that's a free weight division jump that Bud would have to do to fight Canelo, right? And previously, literally the week before, Terence Crawford said that that is a way too big of a jump. So I don't know what happened. I don't know who he spoke to. I don't know if it's just a bit of games. He's done a lot of TV and media work since his win over Errol Spence, which is great. He's been on every show that's imaginable that I've seen, which is very good for him. But yeah, this whole Canelo talk, Crawford, man, allow it, bro. Like, it doesn't make no sense at all. Like, it's stupid. There are weight classes for a reason. You talk about the aim of being a free weight undisputed champion. You could do that at 154, where you only have to move up one weight. You don't need to fight Canelo at 168. Makes no sense at all. And I don't know if Bud really believes it, because literally a week ago, he said that he wasn't interested. He said that's too big of a jump. So has somebody just gone in his ear and just said, yo, Bud, just create a bit of noise, man. Just throw it out there. We're not really going to fight Canelo, but just say it anyway. Has somebody said that? Or do you think that he legitimately has done a U-turn and feels that he can do this? Because it's a non-story for me. I shouldn't even really be talking about it, but here we are.
I don't know if it is a non-story, because on the one hand, you could say he's clout chasing a little bit. He's attaching himself to Canelo's name, especially with Canelo got this fight with Charlo coming up. And let's be honest, Terence Crawford at the moment is he's the talk of the town, isn't he? He's one that everyone's chatting about. So in order to get your brand even more out there, if you entertain it publicly, then people are going to be talking about it and they're going to be saying how great he is. I mean, we're all saying quite rightly that he's a pound for pound number one in the world at the moment. But then again, Terence Crawford, I mean, he might be looking at Canelo and thinking, listen, man, you've not looked that good in your last couple of fights. You're definitely in the twilight years of your career. I can see a pathway to beating him. You know what I mean? Maybe he had a chat with his strength and conditioning coach and his nutrition people and said, do you think if I put on a stone in weight, you know what I mean?
Hold on. Are you co-signing this?
I'm not necessarily co-signing it. I'm just trying to get into the mindset of a supreme alpha male like Terence Crawford no doubt is. Yeah. And he's going to be looking at Canelo. And let's be honest, man, we've all looked at Canelo's last couple of fights. John Ryder, the fight with with Triple G. He did not look good, bro. Let's be honest. He did not look impressive. He couldn't get either fighter out of there. He was basically throwing one punch at a time. His footwork looked slow. The head movement that we was all going on about a couple of years ago against the likes of Danny Jacobs didn't seem to be there. I mean, when he fought John Ryder, man, seriously, the size of that ring was like a shoebox. And that was the size of a shoebox for a reason, because Canelo doesn't seem to be able to move his feet these days.
Yeah,
that being said,
I don't like where you're going with this, man. Carry on.
No, I'm trying to get into the mindset, as I said, of a supreme alpha male boxer like Terence Crawford, who at the moment is a pound for pound number one. He's coming off that career defining performance against Errol Spence, where he absolutely washed him in a fight that people like me and you said, listen, man, even though Crawford's favourite, it could go to Spence. You know what I mean? A lot of people were speculating that, and he simply blew Spence away. So you can imagine how his confidence levels must be soaring through the roof right now. So he's
Okay.
probably thinking he could take on light heavyweights and heavyweights right now. You know what I mean? So I'm just
Okay.
suggesting that.
What's your thought? What's your thought on it? What's your thought?
Well, I guess we'll have to see how Canelo looks against Charlo. Because, as I said, I'm not being impressed with his last couple of fights. And
But
yes,
you really think that Crawford could do it? You think he
I
could
think
jump?
skills wise, there's a clear disparity in Crawford's favour.
I'm very
Absolutely, there
surprised.
is.
I'm very surprised that
No, but would you not say that though?
I'm
Skills
very
wise, it's not
surprised
even close.
this isn't like now at Inoue moving up free weight. This is significant weight for someone that's fought as high as light heavyweight. You're telling me you think Crawford's got a chance to move up
He
to fight
probably
Canelo?
wouldn't, if that fight was to be made, he probably wouldn't come in the ring at 168. I mean, I've heard that Crawford walks around quite heavy. You know what I mean? Not that he's out of shape when he fights, but he has to boil him. I remember when he fought Errol Spence. From what I understand, is he missed the weight 3 times, which suggests that, you know what I mean, he's probably going into the 154 pounder. He's probably thinking if I go up to say 162.3, level
All
off there.
right, all right. I got a point for you here. When the Charlo and Canelo fight was announced, what was your reaction?
Yeah, but let's be honest, man. Crawford and Charlo. No,
What
no,
was
no,
it?
no, 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 no. Let me say this. Yeah, Jamel Charlo is not in the same ballpark in terms of skills wise as Crawford is. Neither is Canelo, which is why I'm saying that there might be a window of opportunity there, an avenue for a Terence Crawford to go in and beat Canelo. Because as I've explained to you, you're talking about one guy who's superbly skilled, whose confidence levels have gone through the roof, against another guy in the twilight years of his career, has not looked good in his last 2 fights, not stopping anyone like he used to. Crawford's looking at him and thinking, yeah, man, that is a
No.
challenge, but it's not insurmountable.
What did
And
you
I and
say?
I and I
What
rate
did you
because
say? What did
I've
you
said
say
to
when?
you,
No,
I've said to
what did
you,
you
I've said
say
to
when?
you, I've said to
Look,
you
look,
that
look.
I know what I'm going to say is I've said to you that I think Terence Crawford beats Jamel Charlo. So he's probably looking at him thinking, well, if Charlo goes and fights Canelo, I can beat Crawford. Sorry, I can beat Charlo. So I've got a good chance of beating Canelo also.
Nah, I'm very surprised. When the Charlo fight was announced and Canelo, we've got the video. Still got that video. What the thing that you said about was the weight. That was the issue. And Charlo is a big light middleweight. I think that's fair. He's operated at 154 his whole career. Could easily fight at 160. The first thing we both said was the fact that Canelo had all these other options, but he's picking on a guy that's 2 weight divisions below him. That's what we said. But
Yeah.
Crawford is 3 weights below him. And you're saying Crawford has a chance simply because of his skill? Like, listen, he is more skilled, but he's going to get hit, right? And how do we expect him to take a shot? I shouldn't even really be talking about it. I
I
just
think
think
the difference is as well is that with those fights, Canelo was the one calling out Charlo and calling out some of the smaller guys. On this occasion, it's slightly different. It will be
he didn't
Crawford
call out.
challenging.
He didn't
It
call
will be
out Charlo.
Crawford challenging Canelo. So it's a slightly different dynamic.
He didn't. Canelo didn't call out Charlo.
Yeah, he wanted that fight. From what my understanding is that he pursued the fight with Charlo.
It was
When he
Charlo.
couldn't get when he couldn't get Jamal Charlo, he wanted to fight Jamel. Yeah.
It was Charlo that
So
called out Canelo.
no, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
no, he did.
no.
Charlo called out Canelo.
That's not
Yeah,
my
he
understanding
did.
of it. No, no, that's not. He's got a free fight deal with the PBC. He wanted to fight Jamal Charlo. Yeah, Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo obviously going through his difficulties with his mental health and the fact that he's not fought in God knows how long. He couldn't do it. So then they looked at Jamel Charlo, and Jamel Charlo immediately accepted. That's the information that I've heard. But anyway, to go back to your original question, listen, man, I've said it before. I don't think Jamel Charlo's going to beat Canelo because I said that Jamel Charlo, although I do rate his skill set, I'm not sure if he's going to do enough to win the amount of rounds that would give him the win on the cards because he's going to have to wash him. I said I don't think he'd stop Canelo either. So yes, I think Canelo would beat Jamel Charlo, but I just think that Crawford is a slightly different animal to Jamel
So,
Charlo.
so, so you think Crawford beats Canelo?
I think he's got the skill set to beat Canelo. Yeah, whether he'll get the decision on the cards or not is a different thing.
Crawford don't beat Canelo. He's too small. Three weights divisions below him. Listen, Canelo is coming out of his prime, but he's still very extremely good, right?
Yes,
He's
he is.
operating at 75 as well. So he's
I,
doing
I'm
all
I'm
that.
kind of waiting to see how he does against Charlo, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because although I think he'll beat Charlo, I am quite intrigued to see how Charlo does against him because Charlo will definitely have the edge in terms of height, reach. He's got better footwork. He's got decent power. I'm kind of intrigued to see. I know at first I was decrying the fight because I wanted to see Canelo fight Benavides. You know what it is as well? I don't even think deep down Canelo thinks he's as good as what he was because if he was, bro, trust me, he wouldn't be looking at fighting guys like Charlo. He would have been looking at taking on David Benavides. The mere fact that he's sort of looking down south at other weight classes kind of tells you straight away that he's not where he was. You know what I mean? That in itself tells its own story to me. But we'll see.
Conrad says here, Canelo looks very beatable, but 21 pounds is a bit too much of a jump. I absolutely agree. There are weight divisions for a reason. Weight classes matter, and I think it's silly that Terence Crawford. I just stop talking about it, man. Like, go ahead and fight Tim Tszyu, get that belt at 154. Hope that Charlo comes back down, and then make undisputed at 154. This Canelo talk is just, it's ridiculous to me.
I think if you're Crawford, you're on cloud nine right now, and you
Yeah,
think
it's
you're
getting to your head a
unbeatable.
little bit.
Yeah, you think you're unbeatable, and he's probably looking at Canelo, and he's saying the same things that we're saying, which is that he's past his best and he looks beatable. You know what I mean? Why do you think Jamel Charlo took the fight? He's thinking the same thing. Now, whether he can get the win, obviously, is another matter because maybe once he feels Canelo's power at 168, he might think, hang on a minute, this guy, even though he hasn't got the footwork and the skills, he still punches very, very hard and he's still very, very strong. But I do think that a guy like Crawford who can switch it, he's a supreme boxer, good defense, good offense. He's definitely got the skill set to beat Canelo. I've got no doubt in my mind. Whether he get the decision on the cards is another matter, though.
Surprised, but hey, this is what the game's all about. Wrestling God
I
says
guess what I'm saying by way of another route is that I don't think Canelo's that great at the moment, bro. I really don't. But we'll see when he fights Charlo in next month.
Wrestling God says here, Laurie, are you covering Usyk versus Dubois on DR Sports on Saturday with the boys?
I believe we might be. A decision should be made on that in the next 24 hours or so. But
Unboxing Hub
if we are,
says,
we'll be sure to let everyone know. We'll put something out there.
okay. iBoxing Hub says it's either Crawford is too small or Canelo is washed. Nobody wins these massive fights with full credit because boxing fans can't handle their guys losing. Yeah, I agree. Haggis says here, Charlo probably wins. Canelo has never been as good as they say. World-class fighter, but not pound for pound. Lost in every division he's fought at, and he's dodged the best guys. American boxing is crooked. Big up to Haggis over there, man. Let's move on. Let's talk about Alicia Baumgardner. Popping dirty, but there has been some inconsistencies with some of this testing, should I say. We're still waiting for a resolution on that. But the facts of the matter that we know right now are Alicia Baumgardner popped dirty for a banned substance. She then took another test, I believe, which came through as negative. So there is it's a bit in the air at the moment. But yeah, as we do on other fighters that pop dirty, it's only right we talk about Alicia Baumgardner as she is the undisputed champion in her weight right now. She is doing some good things in her career. I have to say, I'm a bit turned off from all these. She's posted a lot since this positive test has come through, and you know, she's standing 10 toes down. She's like, I'm not hiding. I didn't do it, but I just feel that for me, I need to see a bit of dignity, man, and a bit of sensitivity around this situation. I've just seen her post look, you can post what you want. No one can tell you what to post on your own social media, right? But I just think, you know, with what's going on right now, I'd like to see a little bit of courtesy, but that's just me. Do you know what I mean? A little bit of dignity in it because it's a serious matter. And if this is thrown against your name, you know, I don't need to see 10 posts during the day of like, oh, oh yeah, I'm standing 10 toes down, man, and blah blah blah. And look, people will say, oh, if you got an issue with it, unfollow her. I get that. Like, I do get that. But I'm just saying, from my opinion, what I've seen, if I was there, I'd tell her to handle it better. Like, maybe someone could say, look, man, allow some of the posts right now and just wait for your name to be cleared fully before, you go on your little run. But that's just me. It's not up to me. It's not my opinion. It's just like, well, it is my opinion, but it's not up to me, should I say. And I just think she's doing a bit too much since that whole testing outcome came out. But what do you think about it? And, how do you think she's handled it?
Well, first up, when I first heard the news, I was both surprised, although maybe I shouldn't be these days with the stuff that goes on in boxing with regards to PEDs. And I was also disappointed because I'm a fan of Alicia Baumgartner. I've met her a few times and I always found her to be very nice, very engaging, very good fighter, of course. And she was fast becoming the face of female boxing, let's be honest. So for that to happen was hugely disappointing. But the trouble with that is that when you have taken a test and it comes up with adverse findings, unlike criminal cases, you're, you're not innocent until proved guilty. You are guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. Now, with regards to what you was referencing with her posts and stuff like that, I can understand her if she truly believes that she's done nothing wrong, that she would come out initially and say, look, I've never knowingly taken anything. I can guarantee you all that I'm innocent. I'm going to prove it. In time, we will find out the truth. I've got my people working on it. We've got to get to the bottom of this. I can understand posts of that nature, but I do agree with you. Some of the stuff that I've seen from her over the last week or so has been a bit too much. You think, look, allow it, man. You know what I mean? Get your people on it and let's see where this goes. So yeah, again, a bit like the Conor Ben, not handling it the best, and that what that does as well, that will put the general public off. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
more so than they would have been when they found out you failed the test.
Yep. Like
You
me.
kind of want it because I'm going to declare a bit of a personal interest because I like her as a boxer, and like I said, I met her before and found her to be very engaging. She did some interviews for a DR boxing channel, and I guess you shouldn't do what I've done when you sort of have a personal vested interest. I was disappointed, but then this is boxing, man, and you can't truly trust anybody, can you, when it comes to this type of thing?
Okay.
So I'm not
Okay.
going to say that she's innocent, but I
The
do
first,
think I do
the
think that
first,
she should.
yeah, go on.
I do think that she should be allowed to prove her innocence if she can do that.
The first thing people are going to say to you, and probably rightly so, is they're going to reference the venom that you spat at the likes of Canelo, the venom that you spat at the likes of Dylan White, Billy Joe Saunders, Tyson Fury, all these other people that have popped dirty before. And with Alicia Baumgartner now, it's, oh, I don't really want to believe she done it, man. And, oh, she done a couple of interviews on DR Sports. So that's what they're going to say to you.
Yeah, they will do, and I can understand them saying that. I
So
didn't say,
that,
hang on. I didn't say that she was not guilty. I said that when I heard, I was disappointed because, like I said, I've met her and done some interviews with her, and she seemed like a warm, engaging person, and I've sort of followed her journey. So on that level, I was disappointed, and I was hoping that it wasn't true, and she will have the opportunity. I mean, she's raised certain issues with the tests. She was saying that she took tests both before and after the failed one and that they came back clean. So I guess there is a slight doubt. Now, where I have an issue with the Baumgartner thing and some of the other people that have taken tests is that if we look at Dylan, for example, Dylan, this is his third time now. This is third rodeo, man. You know what I mean? So there's a pattern there, right? The Canelo, he failed twice. With the Tyson Fury, there was all that thing with the farmer and the boar meat and all the rest of it, which was proven to be a total lie in the end. And the other thing about the Tyson Fury and Canelo thing is that what I've said to you is a hypocrisy in terms of people. So, for example, I've seen a lot of people out there saying, "Yeah, we should ban drug cheats for life." Yeah, But then they're the same people bigging up Tyson Fury and Canelo. And they never seem to mention that they're both convicted drugs cheats. So that is the issue I have with drugs in sport. You know what I mean? If she's been found to have failed and there is the adverse and it does come up conclusive, then she should get a ban, no doubt about it. You know
So
what I mean?
she,
So I'm not sticking up for her in that sense.
so if it is conclusive and and it is proven that she failed,
She
you're
should be
taking her off the
stripped of her
women's.
titles.
She should be
She should be stripped of her
taken off the
titles.
women's pound for pound list, not
Yep,
included on
yep,
any
yep,
further
she would.
women's
Yep,
pound for pound, all of that,
yep.
same energy. So
Same
to,
energy. Same energy. All I'm saying is that because I know the person, well, I don't know her like that, but you know what I mean? I was disappointed. That being said, if she's unable to prove her innocence, then she should, I wouldn't say suffer the same fate as the others because it seems like hardly anyone gets punished these days. But I'd like to see her banned and her titles relieved from her. 100%. Like I said, the problem I've got is that you've got well-known faces in the boxing world. When it happens to somebody who they're not familiar with or not from the same country or whatever, they will freely talk about life bans. Yeah, give them all a life ban. We'll ban them for 10 years. But when it's Tyson Fury or Canelo or other people, the so-called top echelons of the sport, they're a lot less forgiving. Or sorry, are much more forgiving than they would be. And that's what I don't like.
you're saying with Bam Gardner, if that is proved, and we're still waiting, right? I don't know
Yeah.
when the timeline on this, but if Bam Gardner, if it is proven, and we don't know yet, but we've seen one
Yeah,
result,
I'm
and
saying quite unequivocally that although she has raised issues with regards to the testing, her and her people, they've said that they find it strange that she failed a test in the middle of passing two tests. How did that possibly arise? Okay, there's that doubt there, so it has to be investigated. Now, if she can somehow prove that something went wrong with the testing, then we have to hold her hands up and say, well, these things are not beyond the realms of possibility. You know what I mean? Maybe the test was contaminated or whatever the issue is, I don't know. But if she can't prove it, then yes, you have to suffer the fate of getting a ban, being stripped of your titles. I mean, look at it like this. If you notice that the one person that's not said anything about this is probably her biggest arch rival in boxing, Michaela Mayer. And I think that the reason why Michaela Mayer has not said anything yet is because she's probably waiting, like we all are, to see if she is able to prove her innocence or not. And I'm pretty sure that if she's not, then you will see the likes of Michaela Mayer going hard.
as iBoxing Hub here says, Solani Tete recently, and here it proves again the inconsistency in the reprimands that are dished out for
Yeah.
drug cheating. Solani Tete got a 4-year ban, rightly so, says iBoxing Hub here. I'm not got no arguments for that. 4-year ban, his career is probably over now. There's no real chance.
Yeah, but that's quite right.
4 years. Yeah, but again, what is the reprimand for first-time drug cheats, for second-time, third-time drug cheats?
Yeah.
Like, how do we measure it? Do you know what I mean? And
It's the inconsistency that kills, isn't it? Because listen, when it comes to Zolani Tete, right, and he's another one. I quite admired him as a boxer. Yeah, he's been over here a few times. I mean, you saw that last fight he had in this country when he fought Jason Cunningham and absolutely sparked him. Then we find out that the guy was on drugs when he did that. You know, that's a serious thing, man. I mean, he could have, all intents and purposes, ended Jason Cunningham's career with that punch. You know what I mean? So for him getting a 4-year ban, I agree with iHub, it's absolutely deserved. But the problem I have is there's been other guys like Canelo and Fury who served what, less than 6 months, or certainly less than a year. When you consider a lot of these guys don't fight that much anyway, it was barely a ban, was it? So until they get the consistency right and punish people accordingly and appropriately, you're always going to get this.
Okay. Let's run through a couple more quick ones here. Wanted to speak on Josh Taylor looking to move up in weight. I don't know if you saw this story, but he came out. I saw it on Boxing Scene again. I'm not sure who he gave the interview to, but he basically said that after the first 4 rounds against Teofimo Lopez, he didn't have any legs. He couldn't feel his legs. Whether this is an excuse or not, I'm not sure. I'll leave that open to interpretation. But it's been well known now that Josh Taylor has been considering a move up to welterweight. It looks like that's going to happen now. When I look at the welterweight rankings, I see that Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are moving up. So automatically that creates a void at the top. Jerome Boots Ennis is the guy that we all believe will step into that number one spot and will become the best welterweight to take it forward. But you've got a lot of great guys in that division as well. You've got the likes of I forgot his name now. Texas boy, the one that's always the one that had the health issue.
Virgil Ortiz.
Virgil Ortiz, yeah, there's him. You've got Stanionis in there. You know, the welterweight division is out there. Could Josh Taylor look at this as a new division for him to conquer? You're going to throw Conor Benn's name in there, and them two have had a bit of back and forth over social media. So maybe that would be a great opening fight for Josh Taylor to take. But yeah, could Josh Taylor, first of all, create an impact in that division? And what do you make of his reasonings for, you know, his loss to Teofimo Lopez? Is that an excuse, or do you think that he may have some legitimacy behind those comments there?
Listen, only he will know. What I would say is that boxers are the biggest excuse makers in sport. They really are. You know what I mean? Even when you hear a boxer after they've been soundly beaten and they say, I'm not going to make no excuses, just give it a week or two and they'll come out with a load of excuses. So, as I said, only he will know if that is true or not. But what I would say, if he didn't have any legs from underneath him, then maybe he would have got stopped, don't you think? But listen, I don't want to doubt the veracity of his claims. Josh Taylor, certainly up until that last fight, was viewed as one of the best fighters in boxing. I mean, it weren't that long ago, people were saying that he should be on the pound for pound list. He's looked that good in his last couple of fights. I mean, let's be honest, the Jack Catterall fight, even though he was given the decision, everybody in boxing knows that really he lost that night. And then he's gone in and he was comprehensively beaten by Teofimo Lopez in a fight that, let's face it, most people, myself and you included, thought he was going to win.
Yeah.
So the form is not looking good for Josh Taylor. Now, is the reason for that he stayed at the weight for too long, light welterweight? Because let's face it, I think he's been a light welterweight since he turned pro, or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that would have been. I'm pretty sure that Josh Taylor was at the London 2012 Olympics, which means he's been a light welterweight now for getting on for 11 years, which is a long, long time, especially given his age. So he definitely needs to move up in weight now. But then, as you said, man, that welterweight division is stacked. It's shark-infested waters. But I do think it's the right thing for him to do. If he's going to stay in boxing, I think he needs to move up in weight because we've seen him on the scales before, a couple of his fights, and he's looked fairly gaunt, hasn't he? I remember when he fought the guy in America that he beat, Ramirez. Yeah, and I remember the weighing for that fight, man. He looked emaciated and gaunt. But then he went out there and he did a number on Ramirez. But there's only so many times you can do that type of thing, especially when you're getting older. So yes, I do agree he needs to move up in weight. If he's going to stay in this game, he needs to move up in weight. But then, like I said, welterweight, man, it's one of the traditional talented weight classes in boxing, and that's no different today. You named half a dozen really good guys. And listen, there's fights here for him as well. Like you said, the Conor Benn is a very intriguing fight for him. So they're going to have to test the waters at welterweight. I don't expect them to take on anyone that good too soon. I don't think that would be a good strategy if they, you know what I mean, went down another route and tried to fight one of the champions or one of the real contenders. So it'll be interesting to see how his career at welterweight pans out. But I do think that they need to be very careful in the way they match him because he's not looked good now in his last two fights.
Well, first of all, we need to really analyse his age. He's, 31, 32. So how long has he got to tread water? I guess he's going to want to, only the big fight's going to motivate him at this point. But then, obviously, I look at his frame. I think that he's got, definitely got the right frame to carry an extra 7 pounds. He's a very tall, lean guy, Josh Taylor. And maybe he might feel rejuvenated at that weight. I would love to see him take on Conor Benn. I mean, why not? That would be a great fight to make. His debut at 147. Obviously, he's got Catterall there to make amends with. But if that don't happen, then why not Conor Benn? Who's Conor Benn got lined up at the moment? I think.
Listen, that is certainly a fight that I would watch. You can imagine the press conferences and the media for that fight are going to be pretty lively as well. You've got two guys who can talk and not afraid to share their opinions. So that would be, I think, a great fight. But I must admit, and I'm going to say this now, you may disagree with me, but I would fancy Conor Ben to beat him, man. You know what I mean? I think Conor Ben, if you look at, I mean, okay, you have to take what's happened with the drugs into account, but based on the form that both fighters are showing at the moment, you would have to say that Conor Ben is the one in the ascendancy, and he
Mm.
would be the bigger, stronger, younger man. So, and I don't know if Josh Taylor would want that fight as his first fight at welterweight. I think if they're being smart, they'll match him with somebody that's very beatable, somebody that provides a good introduction into a welterweight division. Maybe not a cream puff, and I don't like to use terms like that, but you know what I'm saying. Not a walkover job, but somebody that can give him some rounds and you know what I mean, let it, a good feel out fight at the weight before looking, you know what I mean, further afield and looking up the pecking order, so to speak. So I don't think Conor Ben will be his first fight at welterweight, but I could see that down the line. That would be a very exciting fight.
Will that be an issue motivating Josh Taylor though? Like I said, he's won the World Boxing Super Series. He's fought big fights now for the last quite had quite a few big fights in his career. I'm sure at this stage of his career, 31, 32 years old, only the big fights are going to motivate him. Is a fight against a run out, or maybe not even a run out, but just an opponent that's the risk don't match the reward. Is that gonna motivate Josh Taylor at this stage? And is he just gonna want to jump in with one of the names that's gonna motivate him, like a Ugas? Or Ugas has got Ugas is fighting actually on the undercard, isn't he? Of
Yeah.
yeah, but someone like that, it's a name at welterweight. Is a non-name gonna motivate Josh Taylor in his debut?
Yeah, you make a very good point there. But like I said, I think if they're being smart, him and his team, they won't want to go for somebody that is too dangerous, so to speak, in his first fight up at welterweight. Especially when you consider his last two performances have looked pretty flat. I mean, when he had the fight against Jack Catterall, a lot of people said it was an aberration. People said maybe Jack Catterall's a lot better than what people first thought, which is probably true as well. And a lot of people blame the weight. Then he sacked his team, didn't he? He got a new trainer, and he's on the record as saying that he did the weight really well, and he felt as good as he'd ever felt. And then he goes in there against Tiafimo, and let's face it, man, he got absolutely washed. And to be fair to him, he was fairly competitive for the first couple of rounds, but then Tiafimo just pulled away after about round three or four. So maybe what he's saying about the legs and stuff, maybe there is some truth to that. You know what I mean? Like I said, we're not in there. We don't know. We have to go by what he says. But what we can say is that in his last two fights, he's looked not very good. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. And so, given that, do you want to go in there and take on one of the top names or one of the well known names? Or would you set your sights a little lower and get a suitable introduction to the weight? I think the latter is the best option. And I don't think Conor Ben would be that because Conor Ben is that guy. If you're Josh Taylor, you don't want to face in your first fight at welterweight. Young, hungry guy, you know what I mean, full of beans, can punch, confident. You know what I mean? Once your name on his resume, that's not the kind of fight. And like you said, what would you really get for beating Conor Ben if you're Josh Taylor? People can say, yeah, you should have beaten him anyway because you're a former world champion. He's just making his way in the sport. You know what I mean? So really and truly, what does he really get from that other than bragging rights? Really, he wants to rebuild his career. That's what he'll be looking to do, I would have thought. So, yeah.
Yeah, let's see what happens there, man. I'm interested. I'm curious to see how that goes. His venture up to 147. It's been on the cards for a while, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he does do in this next stage of his career. Josh Taylor. Last topic of the day. I want to quickly talk about it. Now, this isn't fully confirmed yet, but there are strong reports that this is in the works, and I think it will happen. So, David Benavidez looking for an opponent. Obviously, we all want to see him take on Canelo Alvarez, but we know why that's not happening. Demetrius Andrade, I feel like that this fight right here at 35 years old is one that, could be finally his coming out party. This is the fight that, for him, really needs to be on put up on the big stage and win a fight against a significant opponent like this. The problem is, though, for me, and probably you as well, is that David Benavidez is younger, bigger, stronger, punches harder, and probably a bit of a nightmare for Andrade at this stage. Has he left it too late? Has he not maximized on what could have been an even better career than what he's had? Because he's had a very good career, Demetrius Andrade. But I think what we say is that due to his talent, he hasn't really fulfilled it in that way that he could have. So is it too little, too late for Demetrius Andrade coming up against the Mexican monster in David Benavidez? What's your thoughts on this fight, man? Could he win it? Could he win this? It's a tall order, but Andrade is very good.
Yeah, but listen, you said it earlier. Benavidez, younger, stronger, bigger, hits harder. You know, Andrade is a very good fighter, but be coming up in weight at an advanced age in his life, in his boxing career. It is a good fight, don't get me wrong, and I could see Andrade doing well in the early part of the fight, much like what Caleb Plant did when he fought Benavidez. But then ultimately, I'd see around about the halfway mark, Benavidez start to up the tempo. You know what I mean? Put his foot on the gas and you know what I mean? Basically chase Andrade out the ring, man. You know what I mean? I can't see
Yeah.
Andrade winning this fight at all, to be honest.
Nah, not good. Are you that? Are you
The
that?
pity that he didn't have bigger fights earlier in his career. I mean, I do feel a bit sorry for him. He was
Yeah.
calling out the likes of Canelo and Charlo and those guys years ago. For whatever reason, the fights didn't happen. There's been blame and counter blame. I don't know. You know what I mean? But the upshot of that is that Andrade, as you referenced earlier, Daryl, has not fulfilled what the potential that a lot of people felt that he had, myself included. I mean, he's still unbeaten after all this time. And in that time, he's kind of blown hot and cold. But even when he's blown cold, he's still won fairly comfortably, hasn't he?
Mm.
So he's a tremendous fighter. He's just not had the fights to live up to the billing. In a way, it's a shame that such a high profile fight like this is taking place at the tail end of his career, where, let's be honest, man, he's going to be a firm underdog in this fight because he's moving up to 168 against a guy that I don't know how Benavidez makes 168. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the long term prognosis for that fight is not great. But I still want to see it because I do think that Andrade will be competitive, certainly early. So again, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he could pull the upset, but I very much doubt it. I'd have to lean very strongly towards Benavidez.
Rumors that this fight will be on pay per view as well, man. I mean, come on, man. Like, it's a good fight, but not pay per view. Not pay per view for me. But hey,
Pay
I
per view
mean,
in America or in this
in
country?
America, yeah, I reckon it'll be in America. But I'm not.
Yeah, I was going to say, mate, in America, the pay per view market is extensive, isn't it?
Mm,
But over here,
wait,
we
I
don't
doubt
get
it.
as many
They
pay per
couldn't
view
do it on pay
fights.
per view.
Yeah, no one would buy that pay per view in this country because even Benavidez, or to the casual fans, most people won't know who he is. Certainly, they won't know who Andrade is. So that would never work in this country. But having said that, speaking as a boxing fan, that is a very good fight to be made.
Yeah,
It's just that I think it's come a little bit too late in Andrade's career.
yeah. And I look at some of Andrade's previous fights, and we know that he's got the capabilities to be a slick boxer, but he's abandoned that at times, man. And he likes to go in there and slug it out as well. Definitely can't do that against Benavidez, man. I'm sure he knows
That could
that.
be down to the fact as well that he's advancing in
Trying to be more
years.
maybe.
Sorry?
Maybe he's trying to be a bit more exciting where he knows he's got
Yeah,
that
there's a
one
little
punch.
bit of that as well, but he's become a bit more flat-footed as he's got older. That tends to happen with boxers. We spoke earlier about Canelo, who's got levels to zero footwork these days. I mean, to be fair to Canelo, though, he's had knee surgery and that, so that's probably not helped. But yeah, when you get older, man, like it happens to us all. You know what I mean? You get older, you're not as good on your feet as you once was, and it shows in the ring. Boxers need their feet, man. Well, most of them anyway. So, well, certainly a guy like Andrade, who's a boxer, he relies on his skills, his defense, and his counter punching and stuff like that. You've got to be good on your feet. He's probably lost a step, you know what I mean, over the last couple of years, and it showed. He's getting maybe hit a little bit more. Fights are going a little bit longer than they should do, you know what I mean? So him facing a guy like Benavidez, the Mexican monster, as you referred to him earlier as, that's not a good look if you can't get out of dodge, you know what I mean? So good luck with that one, man. But he'll get a good payday, I hope. But I can't see him winning. I've got to be
Yeah,
honest.
same. We'll wait for that to be confirmed anyway, but just thought I'd get your opinion on that in the meantime. Listen, we're going to wrap it up for today, man. Well over an hour. So shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you all for dropping in your comments. Really appreciate it. Hit the like button on the way out, guys, and look out for the show next week. Laurie, got anything you want to add before we close out?
No, man, just thanks for the opportunity to come on the show. Always enjoy these. It's great linking up with you, exchanging ideas. We don't always agree on everything, but we do always have a very good discussion on boxing, which is great. And yeah, looking forward to coming on next week. And hopefully, we're talking about the biggest upset in boxing since Donald Curry stopped. Sorry, Lloyd Hannigan stopped Donald Curry back in the 80s, I think it was. So yeah, let's see how we go.
Let's see. Yeah, yeah. We'll touch on that next week. Maybe we might do an after show on the Sunday or so. We'll see how it goes. But
Well, if he
yeah,
wins, we definitely should do.
yeah, yeah,
Because that would be seismic. Can you imagine that? That would be seismic around the boxing world. And can you imagine what that will do? That will throw a real spanner in the works. All of a sudden, it will be Dubois who's talking to the Saudis about making these big. I mean, there's so much on the line for him. I mean, you did. Sorry to go on about it, but you mentioned earlier about I mean, Frank Warren basically serving up Dubois as a patsy
yeah,
for Usyk. Yeah, that's how some people look at it, and I get that. But it's also a great opportunity for Dubois. That's how he's got to look at it. Because if he can
yeah.
go in there and do the unthinkable, can you imagine what that will do for him in his career? You know what I mean? He would never have to fight again. Or if he does fight again, his next fight will be for millions. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
sure what he's getting for this fight, but if he was able to land that honey punch, man, can you imagine that would just throw the heavyweight division into a frenzy? You know what I mean? He'll have everyone wanting to fight. You know what I mean? So, and he'll be able to charge his rate. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, yeah, listen, man, I'm
Let's-
hoping he
let's-
can do it, but it's, as you use the phrase, Daryl, it's a very, very, very tall order.
Let's see how it goes, guys. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you all on the show next week.